Hello, my name is Naomi Berry Bettis, and I'm the director of the U.S. Department of Labor's Civil Rights Center in Washington, D.C. The mission of the Civil Rights Center includes promoting equal opportunity by administering and enforcing various civil rights laws that protect individuals who apply to, participate in, work for, or benefit from the programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance from the Department of Labor, as well as department employees and applicants for employment. We carry out this mission by investigating and adjudicating discrimination complaints, conducting compliance reviews, providing compliance assistance, including technical assistance and training, and developing and publishing civil rights regulations, policies, and guidance. Today, I'm going to be discussing our new Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, or NPRM, under Section 188 of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, which implements the non-discrimination and equal opportunity provisions of WIOA. An NPRM is the government's way of providing the public formal notice that it is proposing a new regulation or modifying an existing regulation, and it seeks the public's comments on this proposal. But before I get started, I'd like to introduce two of my colleagues at the Department of Labor, Jerry Fiala and Jennifer Sheehy, who will talk briefly about the importance of these new proposed rules. Jerry?
Thanks, Naomi. Hi, my name is Jerry Fiala, and I am the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Employment and Training Administration at the U.S. Department of Labor. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is the most significant reform of the workforce system since the late 1990s. It strengthens the alignment of the core programs of the workforce system by requiring, among other things, accessible one-stop delivery systems and access to services and benefits so that people can get the skills they need, not just to find good jobs, but to launch middle-class careers. One-stop centers, or American Job Centers, AJCs as they are known, have always emphasized inclusion for individuals with barriers to employment. Under WIOA, that commitment is strengthened and memorialized in statute and proposed regulations. WIOA prioritizes serving vulnerable populations, individuals with multiple barriers to employment, for example, individuals with disabilities, youth disconnected from school and from work, older workers, individuals with limited English proficiency. Section 188 of WIOA will help ensure all people, including those with multiple barriers to employment, have access to the education and training services and benefits the system provides so they can get the skills they need to access good jobs. Moreover, WIOA offers opportunities to strengthen our partnerships across programs, make sure our governance structures reflect all the voices that need to be at the table, make clear to all parties the specific provisions of non-discrimination and equal opportunity, and focus on improved, integrated, high-quality service delivery to our job seekers and business customers. The proposed Section 188 NPRM applies to recipients of financial assistance under Title I of WIOA, directly from the Department of Labor or through the governor or another recipient. This includes programs and activities that are part of the American Job Center one-stop delivery system, making sure that the commitment that all people can access the programs, services, and benefits that the public workforce system provides is kept, and that federal partnership programs and services will be more inclusive than ever. These principles of accessibility and service are embedded throughout WIOA and related laws, and they are discussed in detail in the Department of Labor's WIOA Section 188 NPRM. I urge you to read the NPRM closely and provide us with feedback, not just whether you like a provision or not, but why. And should you want, offer ideas or suggestions. Naomi?
Thank you, Jerry. Next, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Sheehy. Jennifer?
Thanks, Naomi. Hi, I'm Jennifer Sheehy, the Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. WIOA offers many new opportunities to support youth and adults with disabilities in accessing employment and training services through the workforce development system. In general, WIOA's opportunities increase the responsibility of workforce investment boards and American job centers to be fully accessible and offer necessary accommodations to provide job seekers with disabilities effective and meaningful access to skills training and career pathways for the modern workforce. In particular, Section 188 represents one of these opportunities by ensuring non-discrimination and equal opportunity in the workforce development system for individuals with disabilities. The Civil Rights Center's NPRM supports this goal in a number of ways. For example, by reiterating the requirements that facilities, programs, services, technology, and materials must be physically and programmatically accessible, and that auxiliary aids and services may be required to ensure that communications with individuals with disabilities are as effective as communication with others. This NPRM will align the Section 188 regulations with current disability rights laws, such as the ADA Amendments Act of 2008, as well as the companion EEOC regulations and the proposed Department of Justice regulations. As state and local plans seek to delineate how they will meet non-discrimination requirements within WIOA regarding physical and programmatic accessibility, they should consider reviewing DOL's guide, Promising Practices in Achieving Universal Access and Equal Opportunity, a Section 188 Disability Reference Guide. Remember that states must develop criteria for certifying physical and programmatic accessibility of AJCs at least every 3 years. I encourage you to read the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking and to submit comments on issues of interest to you. Naomi?
Thank you, Jennifer. As I mentioned earlier, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, requires the Department of Labor to issue regulations to implement Section 188, the provisions that require equal opportunity and non-discrimination in the workforce development system. These non-discrimination provisions are administered by the Department's Civil Rights Center, or CRC. As with the existing regulation, the proposed rule would generally apply to recipients of financial assistance under Title I of WIOA, as well as programs and activities that are part of the American Job Center one-stop delivery system and that are operated by one-stop partners as part of the one-stop delivery system. Section 188 prohibits discrimination in any WIOA Title I program or activity because of a person's race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, political affiliation or belief, and for beneficiaries only, citizenship status, or because of an individual's participation in a program or activity that receives financial assistance. Our new NPRM, published in the Federal Register on January 26, 2016, contains substantive changes necessary to address developments in equal opportunity and non-discrimination law since we last issued substantive regulations implementing the Workforce Investment Act in 1999. Once finalized, this rule will supersede the Department's current regulations. The NPRM also reflects changes in the practices of recipients, including the use of computer-based and internet-based systems. The proposed rule will benefit both recipients of financial assistance under Title I of WIOA, Workforce Development System partners, as well as the beneficiaries of the services that recipients and partners provide. The proposed rule will provide clarity on specific provisions of non-discrimination and equal opportunity law that should increase recipients' understanding and compliance, ultimately resulting in improved integration and inclusion of program participants. This proposed rule will also increase equality of opportunity for the millions of job seekers, training participants, program beneficiaries, and recipients' employees by allowing them to participate or work in programs and activities free from discrimination. The NPRM's updates will safeguard access to the system, in particular for people with disabilities, people with limited English proficiency, transgender individuals, and individuals who are pregnant or have related medical conditions. While beneficiaries, such as job applicants and training participants, and people employed in connection with a recipient's WIOA Title I funded programs and activities, would be protected by the rules, they would not have any obligations under the rules. Importantly, while the proposed rule has many substantive changes, the updated regulations do not impose significant new obligations on those previously covered by WIA Section 188. The proposed rule generally updates its provisions to reflect obligations already imposed by changes to applicable non-discrimination and equal opportunity laws. Here are a few of the changes that are proposed in this NPRM. The NPRM reiterates that discrimination based on limited English proficiency may be unlawful discrimination based on national origin. This is consistent with the Civil Rights Act's Title VI case law and Department of Justice guidance. The NPRM outlines the recipient's obligations to take reasonable steps to provide meaningful access to programs and activities for LEP individuals by providing written translation or oral interpretation in appropriate ways. Although the existing regulations have a section addressing these obligations, the new language provides more detail and thus better guidance for recipients. The NPRM proposes to bring the regulations in accord with the Americans with Disabilities Act Amendments Act of 2008 and the implementing regulations and guidance issued by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, as well as the proposed implementing regulations and guidance issued by the Department of Justice. Consistent with the ADA Amendments Act, the NPRM's updated language ensures that the definition of disability would be interpreted broadly, which would enable more individuals with disabilities to be served effectively within the workforce system. The NPRM also proposes to address accessibility requirements, such as for information and electronic technologies and service animals. The NPRM makes clear that discrimination on the basis of transgender status, gender identity, or sex stereotyping are forms of prohibited sex discrimination in accord with similar developments under civil rights laws. In addition, the NPRM acknowledges the continuing evolution of the law, particularly with regard to discrimination based on sexual orientation, and requests comments on this matter. The proposed rule also makes clear that sex discrimination includes discrimination based on pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions, in accord with Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 and the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, which amended Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The NPRM also seeks to improve the effectiveness of the Department's compliance assistance, and enforcement programs. We would like to support compliance through clearer descriptions of recipient and partner obligations, more effective equal opportunity officers, increased monitoring, and enhanced data collection. I encourage you to read our new WIOA Section 188 NPRM, which can be found through the links on our website, dol.gov/CRC. Our site will connect you to the Federal Register website, regulations.gov, where you can read or print a copy of the Notice of Proposed Rulemaking and can submit electronic comments on the NPRM if you wish. Our site also contains additional information about the proposed rule in alternative languages for individuals with limited English proficiency. Please note that the comment period for this NPRM closes on March 28, 2016. Thank you.